there.
There is no man in boxing today who has the finishing skills of Naoya Inoue.
Potential finisher here, Tim. That's the right hand! He just answered the question, and the monster has roared!
When it comes to pound-for-pound killer instincts, the monster has everyone beat.
A big right hand from Naoya Inoue.
He hits hard, has rapid hand and foot speed, and ties it all together with some of the best fight IQ in the sport. And even now, with multiple belts across multiple divisions in his possession, he is still getting better. He makes championship-level fighters look like they don't even deserve to be in the same ring.
The monster, Naoya Inoue!
Here are some of his finest moments. When Naoya Inoue steps into the ring, it's rarely a slow night. And that was especially true facing Jason Maloney. Maloney came in as a legitimate world-level contender, tough, rugged, and confident he could make Inoue work for every round.
18 victories coming by way of knockout. He is a former world title challenger, Jason Mayhem Maloney!
Inoue, already unbeaten with a growing list of big fight victories, was expected to bring power, precision, and unrelenting pressure.
WBA, IBF, Ring Magazine, Unified Bantamweight World Champion, Naoya Monster Inoue!
This fight wasn't a tune-up. It was a real test of whether Maloney's experience and resilience could withstand Inoue's devastating combination punching and forward momentum.
Before, he was not the only common opponent that they had.
Fans wondered if Maloney could slip through the cracks and force a tactical battle, or if Inoue would make another highlight reel performance. If you're looking for a crash course on everything Naoya Inoue does well, this fight gives you the basics: lethal precision, insane speed, and some of the best footwork imaginable.
Maloney was trying to get out of the way and throw a right hand all at the same time.
That's a lot to process. A fight where he suffered big left to the body.
Jason Maloney is a guy who's been in there with some of the finest fighters in the game, and yet you could tell he had never ever seen anything quite like Inoue before.
Here are the thoughts that shot right there.
Down goes Maloney on a quick counter.
4, 5, 6. Inoue's a good finisher too.
Threes for Naoya Inoue. He comes out firing from down under. Big right hand once again from Naoya Inoue. There's that big left from in the round. But he lands cleanly there with that right.
Eventually, the monster's killer instinct started to kick in, and when he sensed that Maloney was starting to wilt, he turned up the heat. From there, the rest was all reflexes. Inoue began to chop Maloney down from the base up, battering his defenses with a barrage of lethal blows. Inoue didn't just win, he absolutely blasted his way through his rival.
Man, you look at that. Just a quick little turn of the shoulder, half second.
See how you got to sit in position to throw this left hook. Maloney came in with a double jab.
By the 7th round, Maloney was down twice, and the fight was stopped.
Maloney from down under. Big right hand once again from Naoya. As round 7. Oh, a big right hand from Naoya Inoue. Maloney is down and hurt. It's over. It is over.
Another emphatic knockout added to Inoue's incredible streak. It was a clear demonstration that when Inoue's timing and power connect, even seasoned contenders struggle to respond. Even by his standards, this was a brutal display.
Naoya, the monster, Inoue!
Michael Dasmariñas came into this fight known as a tough, determined Filipino contender who could bring pressure and land his own power shots.
He brings a record of 30 victories. He is the IBF #1 bantamweight contender, Michael Dasmariñas.
Inoue was already on a run of spectacular stoppages and was defending his bantamweight titles, with many writers noting his ability to end fights in brutal fashion. For Inoue, the task was to take the power out of Dasmariñas' hands and assert his own rhythm early. The intrigue wasn't in whether Inoue could win, it was how he would do it, and whether his patented combination punching could wear a willing opponent down quickly and decisively.
Starting out, Dasmariñas is a southpaw in fighting the south.
Inoue would not need too much time to find his rhythm here. In fact, he was pretty clearly in full command of this contest from the opening exchanges onwards. Dasmariñas was a fish out of water.
The hope for Dasmariñas is to get this fight. He's starting to settle down and land some shots.
There it is.
But then a shot like that'll land.
Left hook to the body.
Left hook to the liver. Liver shot. Puts down Dasmariñas. 50 seconds to work here in round 2 for Inoue. Stalking his prey. Oh, big left hand.
Utterly outmatched in several key areas that were quickly becoming problems for him. Surviving was not the only challenge now. Making it to the end of each round was.
That way he could push off to get back out of range.
Inoue's looking to go back to that body.
By the time the third round came, it was clear that Inoue was already feeling like he could score the finish. And so, like any competent killer, he turned up the heat more and more until his opponent simply couldn't stand it anymore.
3-punch combination. Goes back to it again. Big time shot to the body by Inoue. Destructive work from the monster. Uppercut. Body shot again. My, oh my. 3 body shot knockdowns and a knockout victory.
Inoue obliged emphatically, dropping Dasmariñas multiple times and forcing a stoppage in the third round. It was another performance that reminded fans of his pinpoint accuracy and relentless pressure, and it further cemented his reputation as one of boxing's most feared finishers. What do you guys think of the idea of a showdown between Inoue and Junto Nakatani? Be sure to give us your exact round prediction in the comments below.
And still, the WBA IBF Bantamweight Champion of the World, the Monster, Naoya Inoue.
This was a fight with history and narrative built in. When Inoue and Nonito Donaire first met in the World Boxing Super Series, the bout was thrilling, competitive, and later honored as one of the year's best fights. Donaire was a future Hall of Famer with savage punching power and sharp instincts, even late in his career. Inoue was the rising force, younger, brutal, and precise. Their rematch was framed as a collision between generations. Donaire's veteran savvy and knockout threat against Inoue's blistering combinations, power, and progression. The stakes were belts and legacy, and anyone watching knew this was destined to be fireworks.
The wait is over. Ricardo Osuna alongside.
We would learn a lot about both men and their evolution in the opening minutes of this one, and it would become clear that Inoue had somehow managed to totally outgrow his rival. Donaire was great, sure, but he was getting older, falling behind the modern standards of the game. And Inoue was unfortunately one of the shining examples of where the sport was headed. Considering how close their first fight was, Inoue was not going to give this bout any room to breathe. He swarmed on Donaire as soon as he found his opening, making sure that it was never going to resemble the back and forth that was their first meeting. And he didn't need to wait around for an opening to present itself either. Inoue exploded early, delivering a second-round TKO that left no doubt.
Managed to find his balance. Just goes down because Inoue is going to work here. And another round 2.
He wasn't just powerful, he was surgical, breaking down one of the most respected fighters of his era with a display of accuracy and aggression that underscored his place among boxing's elite. When Inoue faced Paul Butler, the boxing world was watching history in the making. Butler was a seasoned former world champion, rugged and experienced, and this fight offered Inoue the chance to become the first undisputed bantamweight champion in the four-belt era. For Butler, it was the opportunity to derail one of the sport's hottest stars. For Inoue, it was about consolidation, proving his dominance, not just in one title fight, but across the entire division. The tension was about more than power or speed. It was about legacy, history, and finishing what many expected to be a definitive performance. Paul Butler was tough, gritty, and had some devoted fans in the crowd who wanted nothing more than to see him pull off the underdog story of the decade. Unfortunately, in reality, there was way too much of a skill gap here.
For offense. Now you see the head movement. Remember,
Test 100% of fighters need to win.
And he totally failed to get his own going throughout each of the rounds that led up to his demise. Inoue was simply miles and miles ahead.
Trying to match his rhythm and make him pay for his mistakes.
You're not making him pay at all, even if he was over anxious.
Nothing more.
Eventually, after deciding he played with his food long enough, Inoue decided to turn up the heat, ripping through Butler's defenses mercilessly to finally put him down.
Now Inoue with a right hand to the body is a good one. And a big right hand that comes in. Great work from Inoue. Knocked down here around the...
Whatever hopes of a miraculous comeback the Butler team were holding on to were stamping out conclusively in one brutal display. Inoue delivered exactly that, stopping Butler in the 11th round to unify all four major belts. The stoppage wasn't just a win, it was a marker of greatness. A champion who doesn't just accumulate belts, but dominates in the moments that define eras. Taking the leap up in weight to super bantamweight, Inoue stepped into enemy territory against Stephen Fulton, a slick, technically polished champion with world-level experience and movement that troubled many opponents. This was a pound-for-pound level opponent for Inoue. Could Inoue's power and pressure carry up to a division where judgment, ring control, and body work can be decisive? Writers framed this as a real test of adaptability. Fulton's craft against Inoue's momentum at a higher weight. Every jab, every angle, every adjustment mattered. Fulton might have been a world-class fighter in his own right, but in there with a generational great like Inoue, you wouldn't have known it. In other words, Inoue eats world-class fighters for breakfast.
That he possesses the power that people don't think he has. Believes that he wants to prove that tonight. Spectacular. No, caught Inoue's attention, and I love that he went back. His combination with the right of his own, down to the body with the left for Inoue.
We had expected a tightly contested fight coming in, but in reality, this was yet another masterpiece from Inoue, another chance for him to show the world that even his biggest fans were probably underrating him to some degree. By the 8th round, the question had been answered. Inoue's mix of precision, relentless forward motion, and brutal combinations wore Fulton down and forced a technical knockout. Moving up in weight didn't slow him. It amplified what makes him so dangerous. Marlon Tapales entered the ring as a unified super bantamweight champion with belts and experience at the highest level. Inoue had already made waves in the division, but Tapales represented a true test. A tough, crafty opponent who could fight at range and absorb punishment. Fans and analysts debated whether Inoue's power would translate fully against a champion who was technically sound and durable. Every round promised action, with Inoue's pressure and precision on one side and Tapales' experience and resilience on the other. This was a battle between a rising force and an established elite. In front of an adoring Japanese crowd, Inoue met with Tapales, looking to make a major statement against the 40-fight veteran. The question now was whether Tapales could outperform all expectations. Because let's be real, we all knew what the most likely result was.
Here comes Inoue, the monster. Left hand, right hand, Tapales is down. Oh. 5 seconds left in this round. Or you're tentative and then you get and again.
Nice.
Big right hand there.
In the 10th round, Inoue was comfortably in his flow state, confusing the defensive systems of his opponent with his constant tempo changes and strategy switch-ups. Inoue was breaking him down systematically round by round, and now, with the fight entering its final stages, he was ready to bring the hammer down.
At times frustrating Inoue certainly having success, but Marlon Tapales.
His hands up like that. Inoue would throw a shot and then he'll, ooh.
Big right hand there.
Inoue gradually wore Tapales down, finishing the fight in the 10th round. The Filipino champion showed grit, but Inoue's timing and combinations controlled the pace and earned him another dominant championship victory. 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐜𝐫𝐢, a former 2-division world champion, came in with a reputation for power and unpredictability. Inoue was moving up the division, and this matchup carried intensity from the first bell. Fans were excited to see how Inoue would handle 𝐬𝐜𝐫𝐢's aggression and whether he could maintain composure under pressure. The stakes were huge, a title defense with bragging rights and historical weight on the line. Analysts speculated about how Inoue would adjust to 𝐬𝐜𝐫𝐢's speed and punching power.
Seen spooked by the punching power.
Oh! Inoue goes down! Knocked down to the monster!
While imposing his own relentless combinations. Coming into this bout, it was clear that 𝐬𝐜𝐫𝐢 was a very worthy opponent, a guy who had a real chance at upsetting the odds. But Inoue comes into every single fight with the same mentality. And no matter what style he was forced to contend with, Inoue believed in a simple philosophy, that his power would hurt any man in any class.
Out of position. When Inoue commits, he's out of position.
Oh,
There.
it turns the favor! 𝐬𝐜𝐫𝐢 came forward, overextended himself. Oh, look at this! Showboat trying to draw him in.
And that any chin could eventually break. Even by Inoue's standards, this was a truly ridiculous knockout. The level of dexterity needed to deliver 2 punches with the same arm in such quick succession.
Like that, with no reward! Down again!
You see his eyes. He's looking right at 𝐬𝐜𝐫𝐢.
To turn a punch over.
This was further proof that Inoue was truly on a different level.
There's the right hand! That's answered the question! Rumbled! And the monster has roared!
And now, the competition were starting to notice just how good he was. After an early scare, Inoue took control and finished 𝐬𝐜𝐫𝐢 in the 6th round. His precision and adaptability shone, showcasing the ability to adjust under pressure and dominate even against a strong, dangerous opponent. Is this the single most impressive knockout of Inoue's career, or do you have a different one in mind? Let us know in the comments below. Ramon Cardenas was a motivated challenger aiming to make a statement against an undisputed champion. Inoue, fighting in front of a new U.S. audience, had to showcase not just power, but tactical intelligence. Cardenas brought energy, aggression, and determination, creating the potential for an intense battle. Observers were keen to see if Inoue's combination punching and precision could neutralize a challenger willing to take risks and keep the pressure high. This was a fight that was never going to disappoint. There was too much firepower and ferocious intent on both sides for the judges to be needed. And if you decide to get into a firefight with Naoya Inoue, that is never going to end well for you. Cardenas was game though, and he would certainly have his moments as the fight wore on. Even if you can hurt Inoue, even if you can drop him, that in no way means you're guaranteed to win the fight. The monster earned his nickname for a reason, and like any great horror movie villain, he always finds a way to get back into his flow and wreak absolute havoc. When he found his moment against Cardenas, the results were just about as devastating as you'd expect. Inoue handled Cardenas methodically, finishing in the 8th round. Cardenas fought with heart, but Inoue's control, precision, and relentless pace highlighted why he remains one of boxing's most feared champions, and it served as further proof that this rising star was more than capable of dealing with adversity. But which one of the monster's performances sticks out in your memory? And who would you like to see him take on in 2026? Be sure to let us know in the comments below before showing your support by subscribing to the channel so you don't miss a single one of our weekly uploads. Thanks for tuning in.